Hi everybody, welcome to the Manifold channel. Today we're going to look at how the automatically parallel technology in Manifold System lets us work with 110 gigabytes of images, opening, panning, and zooming them absolutely instantly. We're looking at Manifold System Release 9 here, and this all works in the free viewer as well, so if you have the free viewer you can try it. And what we're going to do is we're going to open a project that's been previously stored, file open, and this is a project in a Manifold Map Format. This is all of Boston at 13 centimeters, and it's about a 36 gigabyte image. It's a map. It's a map project. It's a really big project. So let's click open, and you can see the project opens instantly. And we click that image, and you can see the image opens instantly as well. Manifold Map Format is a super fast format designed for parallel systems like Manifold System. It works way faster than say JPEG or TIFF or stuff like that. And as you can see, it pans and zooms instantly. This is not some sort of compressed format like a wavelet compressed format like ECW. There is absolutely no loss here whatsoever. It is the full and complete and total data. It's just a super fast format that relies on using all the cores in your system to automatically pan and zoom. Here's Boston Common. We have all of Boston here in 13 centimeter resolution. We can see individual people walking along, picnicking, enjoying themselves at the in Boston Common, and all that is there. But I said we were going to look at 110 gigabytes, not just a mere 36 or 37 gigabytes. So let's click File, New, and we'll start a new project here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the ability of Manifold to link in stuff from other projects. So instead of opening that Boston project, I'm going to link it in. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to link in the Boston project, this Hong Kong project, London, Moscow, and Paris, all those at once. That's let's see, that's 36 gigs, 10 gigs, about 23 gigs, about 36 gigs, about 10 gigs. So it's about 110 gigabytes worth of projects right there. I'm going to click Link, and all those projects will link instantly into this new project that I've created. When I open up those data sources to drill in, I can see the contents in them. And if I want to, I can double-click 13 centimeter Boston, and it's opened just as if it was stored locally. There we are back in Faneuil Hall. Let's go back here to zoom into this is around Harvard. Here's Harvard Yard, Widener Library, if you know Harvard. And likewise for all these other images as well. Here's Hong Kong. There's London. There's Moscow. And on. So let's take a look at all these images together. Let's not just open them one at a time. Let's see them all together in a single map presentation. To do that, I'm going to click down here and choose File, Create, New Map, and I'll create a new map called, let's call it a map, and I'll open that. And what a map is, it's an empty container. It's basically a frame, and it takes its projection for whatever the first component is that you drag and drop into it. In this case, I'm going to create a data source. Actually, let's go up here so you can see the whole thing and not lose sight of what's going on outside of the video. Click Create, and new favorite data source. Manifold has zillions of new data source, but there's a bunch of favorites that you can save, kind of like the quick reference with one-click wonders. And let's choose a Bing Maps Street Map. So let's open that up, and let's drag and drop this into the map. What do we have now? We have a map that has one background layer, which is the Bing Streets layer, and I can pan and zoom in that just like I can anything else. And this is coming in from a web server. It's just like using Google Maps or something like that. And as you can see, those tiles are filling in as we pan and zoom. Those are coming in from the Microsoft Bing web server. So I can now take the Boston image and drag and drop it into here. And it'll be automatically reprojected on the fly if the Boston image does not use the same coordinate system as the pseudo-Mercator that the Bing background layer does and this map uses. It'll be automatically reprojected, and it happens so fast that you can't tell that it's being reprojected. And as you can see, Boston is still here. There's Faneuil Hall again. Let's zoom out to control-click on Boston to zoom to fit that presentation. And now let's drag and drop all these other images into the map as well. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'll control-click on London, control-click on Moscow, control-click on Paris, and that should do it. So let's drag and drop. And as you can see, we've now added a bunch of different layers here. You can turn a layer on and off by double-clicking on it. You can make the layer the active layer by clicking on it. And what we now have, if I zoom to fit Bing Street Maps, let's zoom in here to Europe. And you can start seeing little dots where these image layers have appeared. There's the Moscow layer, for example. Let's zoom in here farther and farther. And this is the 36 gigabyte Moscow image. What we have now is a map that has 110 gigabytes of images that are scattered all over the world. If you know Moscow, you'll know that this is a red square. There's Lenin's tomb, the mausoleum. Right about here is the famous cathedral, St. Basil's Cathedral, which is featured in just about every tourist photo that's ever been taken of Red Square. Let's see what else. What's cool? Let's go for a little bit of culture. And up here is the Bolshoi Theater. That's the square in front of the Bolshoi Theater. Sometimes Bing cannot keep up with how fast we go, and when that happens, you'll see a black a square as Manifold tries to interpolate around Bing's loss. But as you can see, here in Moscow, we can zoom around, pan and zoom, and this is an image which is not quite the same quality image that we have for Boston. It's a slightly different resolution, but it's still about 37 gigabytes. You can still see every car that's in all of Moscow. It's still live here. We can jump to Boston at any time, or we can jump back to Moscow. If we like, we can... I'm going to close up these data sources here. Let's save some locations. So let's call this location save current location. Let's call that Red Square. And let's go here to Boston. Zoom to click to Boston. Let's go here to Harvard. And I'll zoom a little further. Let's call this one save current location. Let's call that Harvard Yard. And now if we like, with those saved locations, we can go back and forth from Red Square to Harvard Yard. And you can see all that is totally instant. Let's take a look at Paris. I'm going to zoom to fit to Paris here. I did that by control-clicking the tab. That's a shortcut. And if you know Paris, you know that. Let's see some of the sites here. Okay, here's the Arc de Triomphe with my horrific French accent. And let's save that as a location as well. We'll just call that Arc. And what else should we do here? Let's zoom out a bit. Let's click here to, this is the Louvre down here, and here's the pyramid in front of the Louvre. You can see where all the tourists are queuing up to go into the Louvre. Get that fix of art. And let's see, what would Paris be without the Eiffel Tower? And the Eiffel Tower is right there. And I got to say, some of this stuff looks pretty touristy, but if you're going to go to Paris, you got to visit the Eiffel Tower. It's just well worth seeing. So let's click Save Current Location. Let's just call that Eiffel. And what else? We have to go to London. Let's go to London. So here's London, and what do we have in London here? This is the Tower. Tower of London right here. And this is the famous White Tower that was built by William the Conqueror after he conquered England in 1066. Tower, and what else can we do? Let's, if I recall correctly, Big Ben is somewhere here, I believe. Yeah, there's Big Ben. And as you can see, we have no trouble panning and zooming here. We can move around as fast as we like. If we turn off the Bing Street Maps image, we won't get that dark effect going back and forth. You can see that's an artifact of the Microsoft Bing server not being able to keep up with us panning and zooming. If you just use Manifold for the Manifold images, 110 gigabytes of them, Manifold has no trouble panning and zooming. This is Westminster in here, the Houses of Parliament, but let's leave that with Big Ben. And last but not least, one of my favorite places on Earth, Hong Kong. And here's Hong Kong. This is one of the smaller images that we have. I think it's only about 10 gigabytes. And up here we see the Kowloon Peninsula. That's the mainland. And down here is Hong Kong Island. And Hong Kong actually is an island. Hong Kong consists of, the former territory consists of the Kowloon Peninsula, the Hong Kong Island. Here's what used to be the airport. It's been long shut down. The new airport is down here to the left. And this is Central down here, which is some of the most expensive real estate on Earth. All pretty cool. And let's call that Save Current Location, Central. We're actually looking at Wan Chai over this part and Shangguan over this part. This is actually the core of Central, the super elite shopping district. And let's turn the Bing Street Map imagery back on, so you can see the context of where we are. Suppose we want to add some labels to all this stuff. Well, that's easy to do. Let's create another data source here, and what I will do is kind of so that there. Let's click File, Create, and actually let's do that all on screen. File, Create, New Data Source, and instead of choosing a new favorite data source, let's call this one Google. And as you can see, Manifold has zillions and zillions of data sources. I mean, there's all this stuff. There's the databases. There's a million different file formats. Besides all those file formats, if you like, you can use GDAL as well. There's all these different web server types like WFS, WMTS, or ArcGIS REST. We're going to use an image server. And of all these zillions of image servers that Manifold has built in as defaults, we'll use this one, the Street Map Transparent Server, and I'll create that data source. And now what I'll do is I'll drag and drop that into here. And that's a Google server. Oops, I want to make it above Hong Kong. This is the order of layers, so you can put layers up and down, move layers up and down in the stack. So we want the Hong Kong, the Google Street Maps layer above our Hong Kong map. And you can see what this is. The Google Transparent Street Map layer is simply provides streets, and it provides some labels that are transparent, and with everything else transparent, so you can see through them, so you can see whatever's in the background layer. Here's where the Admiralty, for example, the metro stop is. There's the Central metro stop. Pretty darn busy, don't you think? Let's jump back to, let's see, the Arc de Triomphe. Why not? Let's go there. View an active window. There's the Arc de Triomphe. As you can see, we're jumping around worldwide here, and we're having no trouble zooming around, except when Bing cannot keep up. No trouble zooming around, even though we have 110 gigabytes worth of images. Now, suppose we wanted to, instead of having this kind of busy look of all these labels, we wanted to show a partial transparency here where we could see part of the Bing Street Map through Paris. If we wanted to do that, we could use the Layers pane and the Contents Layers panel and the Contents pane. We switch here to the Contents tab, and this is a bunch of different panels here that we can use to do various things. We're going to use the Layers tab here, and what we're going to do is we change the transparency in the Paris layer so it's 50%. And as you can see, what we've done is we've changed the transparency on an image server layer here, so part of the background can show through it. Here's the Seine. Let's see, the Gare du Nord, I guess, is right around here. Yeah, that's the Gare du Nord. No, excuse me, that's Gare Austerlitz. Gare du Nord would be way up here, farther up north. Man, it's amazing. Spend a few weeks away from Paris and you can no longer find your way around. Isn't that the truth? Anyway, this is what we're doing. Oh, and let's do one last thing. Let's save this. We'll save this new project. We'll save as, let's call this 110 GB with locations. Click File, Save. And I've just saved it. It saves that quickly. So suppose I can choose File, Close, or File, New. You can see there's no project loaded right now. I can choose File, Open, and instantaneously this 110 G with locations. It's only 1 meg in size because it's all the rest of it is linked in. I can open it, and there, all that stuff that I put together is still there. All those locations are still there, so we can go to Big Ben. We can go to Central. We can go to Harvard Yard. And we can go to Red Square. All those places that quickly, because we have 110 gigabytes worth of images, and they're being brought in as linked in from different Manifold projects, and they're linked in with absolutely zero performance loss whatsoever. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the speed demo. I hope you can see how it's really easy to use Manifold to create projects that you can link one within the other, so you can use them for archives. And it's all just unbelievably, remarkably fast. Why is it fast? Because Manifold is automatically parallel. Viewer is too. So download free Viewer, give it a try, buy Manifold if you like, and enjoy. Thanks for watching, and goodbye from Manifold Land. Well, that was fun. If you want to see more, visit us at www.manifold.net. As always, Manifold delivers the world's most advanced, highest quality spatial products for GIS and DBMS at a low price that you can afford. Once again, that's manifold.net. See you soon.